This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
You know, I've had a pretty calm summer. You know, my blood pressure's been good, just relaxing, you know, and I plan to keep it that way throughout the fall. Lo and behold, game one, and of course, all that calmness, all that good blood pressure is completely out of the window. You know I love it. Game one is in the books. This is Jerry Mallory, and you're listening to the Hindsight 20 podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. What a wild ride it was. Lions victorious. Oh my goodness, 39-35. Plenty to talk about. We have the good, the bad, the ugly. And like I always tell people, I'll open up with this, especially in the NFL, especially on the road, especially your first game. A win is a win is a win. I will never apologize for being victorious. And if we think about the start we had last year, you know, scratching to get that first win, took us to game 6 to get one right off the bat. We don't know how good the Colts is or isn't. Don't really care right now. All we do know is that we're victorious. A win is a win is a win, and I'll never apologize for a victory. What a wild ride it was. We're going to talk about the game, the ins and outs of it. I saw something in Stafford, not just the stats alone, and we'll talk about that, but I saw something from him that was key, that was monumental. We'll bring back the segment call-outs and shout-outs. Remember, we call out the players we want to see do better. We give shout-outs to those that did good. What do we have with this team? I'm going to be honest with you. Spoiler alert, we still don't know, but we'll talk about that a little bit. And we'll also go around the NFC North and look at what the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings did. Now, I decided, and this was with the suggestion of my lovely wife, to open up a Snapchat. When I watch the games and my reactions, my reactions are interesting, similar to many of yours. I'm not going to call them unique, but I opened up a Snapchat. Do yourself a favor. Go to Jerry Mallory NFL, and as I watch the games, you can see just how I react, game in and game out, to what's going on with the Lions. I think you'll find this one interesting, especially at the end there. So Snapchat, Jerry Mallory NFL. I'm also on Twitter, Jerry Mallory NFL, and a proud member of Private Detroit. So what are my opening thoughts on this game? So, eerily similar to opening a game last year in so many ways. You start off, it's a 4:00 game. It's a road game. It's an AFC game. You go up 21-3, and then you see the lead starting to disappear. But that's where it kind of stops, because last year, as the Chargers kept marching down the field and, you know, taking that lead, the offense just stalled. We couldn't get that next drive. We really just looked flat completely in the second half. This was a difference this year. I don't care how good or bad the Colts defense is. I know they had a lot of injuries. You play who's in front of you, okay? Could have easily lost this game, but we won. There's a lot of teams this week that maybe, you know, are looking at XYZ, but they're 0-1. They would love to switch spots with us, okay? Now, the offense this time did not stall. We needed a responding drive. We got it. We needed to march down the field and make that lead a little bit bigger. We did. We tie the game up, and we need that field goal after Matt Prater, man, please don't do this to me. My nerves, the fans. I mean, I'm not a fan of same old Lions. I'm not a fan of all of that. Okay. But when he misses the extra point and we're only up 6 points, those feelings is hard. It's hard to deny them. As the biggest supporter of the team and someone that tries to avoid those sayings, it's hard to deny just, here we go, and it happens, but we responded again and made some big plays where we needed. Ebron, Marvin Jones, get out of bounds next time, Jones, but we did what had to be done, and it's a big victory. The first 4 games, 3 out of 4 was on the road. I said we had to go 2-2. We had to find a way, because it gets a lot easier after that. You got 3 straight at home, and just the schedule as a whole. First 4 games, a little bit tougher. It eases up. It was important. It was imperative that we find a way to win 2 of those games. So, I mean, you got Tennessee coming up at home. That looks favorable. And those next 2 after that, whatever. It's looking good. That 1-0 looks very nice. Let's talk about some of the stats. I mean, what a game. Matthew Stafford, this was arguably one of the best games I've seen from this man. I mean, 31 for 39. That's like, 77%. That's absolutely ridiculous. 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. What a game he had. Amir Abdullah on the ground was very effective, as was Theo Reddick, both of them getting the job done. Abdullah was 12 carries, 63 yards. Well, that's a 5.2 average. Very good. Theo Reddick, 7 for 45 and that big touchdown. Receiving, Marvin Jones had 4 catches for 85 yards. He showed some big playability. And you had Anquan Bolden being reliable as he was. Big catches, getting first downs. Amir Abdullah with 5 grabs for 57 and a touchdown. E. Brown, 5 for 46 and a touchdown. Tate, 7 for 41. I mean, the ball was spread all around. Man, what a game. Now, on the other side of the ball, on offense, the Colts look good too. I mean, Luck, 31 for 47. That's not bad. It's closer to like just a shade over 60%. 385, 4 touchdowns. Frank Gore, 14 for 59 yards, which was decent. Dorsett, 4 catches, 94 yards. Hilton, 6 for 79. And so those are your stats offensively. On defense, Kerry Hyder Jr. I love this guy. I'm going to start calling him Jerry Hyder. He got the job done with 2 sacks early on, and the defense as a whole getting the job done. But we started to stall, after, just 3 and outs and looking like we're imposing our will and we're dominating. The middle of the field started to be open. And, those tight ends. I mean, you had 3 touchdowns at least from the tight ends. They were open so many plays. We have to tighten that up. We won't score 39 points every night. We won't go up against a defense that has 3 and 4 and 5 guys already hurt. And then they have 2 or 3 guys get hurt during the game. And so we can't give up 35 points regularly, routinely. The situation worked out good for this game, but it's important that we kind of, we straighten that out and we shape this thing up. Just to give you a brief deal of what I want to do. Typically I'll do a show about 45 minutes every Monday. I'm still going to give you that show every Monday, but I'm thinking about splitting this thing up. Because when I preview the following game, which I always do, I mean, it's so far away. You hear this Monday, you've got 5-6 days. So I'm thinking about splitting up my service. It's kind of giving you, the reaction in that 20 to 30 minute range on your Mondays. And we'll see. You got to check with the powers that be. If I could give you something on the weekend, on a Saturday, that gives you 20, 30 minutes of closer to game time, closer to, injuries and things that have went on we can talk about, we'll do that. Perhaps I can't do it every week. I'm a busy man. It all depends on my schedule. You hear from me every Monday, and I'll try my best to give something to you when I can on Saturdays previewing. Like for instance, this upcoming week against the Titans, I can give you a better look as the days progress. We can get some information on injuries, etc. Let's get to our segment, call outs and shout outs. It's simple. You've got guys that deserve to be shouted out because they played so good. And then you get your call outs. Like they say, you want the good news or the bad news? Let's start with the bad news. Let's start off with the call outs. Opening up my call out section, it's you, DeAndre Levy. Now, you played good all over the field. We missed that. And it seems as though he's getting back into that form where he's just a playmaker. The 15-yard penalty for taunting. Dude, there's just no excuse. After the whistle, penalties to me just drive me nuts. This guy's been in the league 7 years or however long now. You can't do it. And you saw it coming a mile away with the, putting up the muscles and the shaking. You can't do. These referees, they're looking for reasons. Anytime there's a new rule or a new wrinkle to a rule, they love to use it. It's like a baby with a new toy. They love to use. They have to justify this rule. And so now they've got it where if you taunt twice, it's almost like in the NBA, those 2 technicals, you get kicked out. So if you do a combination of these things, 2 of them, taunting, kicking someone, hitting unsportsmanlike in certain ways, you get ejected. And so sure enough, it's a 4th down situation. that we caused. Luck did not get the first down. Would they have went for it? I don't know. At that point in the game, probably so, but we don't know if they would have completed it. Well, we definitely know they get the first down after the 15-yard taunting penalty, and they go on to score on that drive. Levy, you can't do it. It's a boneheaded play. Again, after the penalty or after the whistle, penalties absolutely drive me nuts. The second guy I want to call out is Marvin Jones. Now, he's going to be fine. Yeah, I love the guy. I've been waiting for him to get this opportunity. I think he's going to do big things. But today, not too good. Misplaying balls, a few drops, and the thing is, you bring him in, you sign him to this contract because you feel as though he has an opportunity to step forward as a number one, and because he's so sure-handed. And so the ones that he dropped were kind of iffy and everything, but you like to see a guy come down with it. And then at the end of the game, just really, and Stafford let him and Ebron have it, which is good. And we'll talk about more of that later. At the end of the game, dude, get out of bounds, man. Because then you get out of bounds on that game-winning field goal drive. We still have a timeout, so we can run another play. Get a little bit closer. Prater just missed an extra point, 30-something yards. You have to have enough wherewithal and common sense. There is times to fight for extra yards, and you love that when the time is necessary. At that point, you've got the first down. You've got to get out. That was huge, because then after that, you compile it with, instead of just kicking the field goal after burning that timeout, Caldwell a little risky, want to run a little time off the clock. If Stafford gets sacked right there, if it's a botched fumble, the game is over. And I would have been looking at Caldwell more than Jones, because I feel like, no, don't burn the clock. Don't try to take some seconds off. Just kick the field goal. You don't have a timeout. But Jones is the one that started that, what could have been a disastrous fiasco. Prater, I could easily add him to this list, but, missing the extra point was horrible, but he did redeem himself. The last call out, it's a unit. And I've been talking about this unit. I said they worried me not seeing enough of in the preseason, and it's coming to fruition. It was the pass rush, or lack thereof. Kerry Hyder got in early and often, but toward the end of the game, we just weren't getting a rush. Plain and simple. Not causing Luck to have to scramble, to throw bad throws, or to be brought down with a sack. We've got to do more. I really think we're missing a key element, that speed, pure edge rusher. We don't have it. Ziggy's great. He's a Pro Bowler. I would love to see someone next to him that is of that ilk, but it's not here for right now. So those are your calls. For shout outs, obviously you're starting with Matt Stafford. The dude just lit it up, man. I don't care who you're facing. I don't care what string of player, second, third, fourth string. He was flawless pretty much. His accuracy, evading the rush, looking for all his receivers. He really looked like a guy that, these years and having Calvin, why not use him as a crutch? Why not go to him by default? Why not zero in? He's one of the best receivers of all time. Without that luxury, he spread that ball around to the tune of like 75+% through the air. Just a phenomenal game. When you needed a win, you needed that drive, Stafford was there. Because could this be it? Could this be the start of something special? I'm going to temper my expectations, but the way the offensive line played, the way this new scheme is, and Stafford is getting up there. He's a vet now, a young vet, but a vet. Could we be, on the cusp of seeing something special? Well, if the rest of the season goes any way that this first game did, the sky's the limit. Kudos to him. Our two running backs are getting a shout out, both Amir Abdullah and Theo Reddick. Now, Theo Reddick gets all the attention and love as a receiving running back. He is one of the best in the league. His moves, man, he's got moves for days. This is the first time I've actually seen him run the ball as effectively. So those things were great to see. However, don't forget about this. Amir Abdullah is a viable receiving option. He's more than capable of being a good receiving running back. Both of them good through the ground, on the ground, and through the air. Abdullah single-handedly had a touchdown drive. It was a drive where he just had like a 12-yard run, a 7-yard run, kept the chains moving, 2 big catches, and he caps it off with the touchdown. You've got to love that. You got to love when you see a guy basically single-handedly through his will get himself 7 points or 6. I don't know. Was that the one that Prater missed the field goal? Don't remember exactly, but you got to give him love. And then my last shout out, yes, it does go to one Mr. Taylor Decker. The matchup against Robert Mathis, that's daunting. That's difficult. He held his own admirably. Not hearing much about him, that's what you call a good day for a left tackle. Not seeing a ton of pressure from that side. Stafford not being brought down a bunch. Looked like the right side, interior right side, was compromised more than anything. Decker held his own. He had some ups and downs in the preseason, but he looked the part. He looked like one of the best young up-and-coming prospects. He keeps maturing. The run game, a couple of big runs were on that left-hand side. So you love seeing that. So kudos to him. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look around the NFC North, and then we'll close the show briefly looking at Tennessee, and then asking ourselves what we have with the team and mentioning something interesting about Stafford. Stay right here. Jerry Mallory here for the Hindsight 20 podcast. It's simple. Your ad can be placed right here. If you want to do a little business with us, have your company promoted on one of the up-and-coming podcasts and one of the up-and-coming podcast networks, do yourself a favor and send us an email. It's at Hindsight20podcast. That's Hindsight20, PODCAST 20 at gmail.com. We're back on the Hindsight 20. It's always a good day when the Lions win, all right? I don't care how close or if we this and that and da-da-da. We won. It's always a good day. Always a good day in the Mallory household after a Lions victory. You know, it was a pretty cool weekend. I'm a big fan of The Office. I don't know if I've mentioned it. It is my favorite television show of all time, okay? Me and the wife, we watch it still every single day just about on Netflix. And Dwight Schrute had a little quote when things were just going good for him toward the end of the series. It was called Perfektenschlag. And for me, getting a win for the Lions, as well as looking like I'm on the cusp of winning both of my big fantasy football leagues that I'm in terms of a football standpoint, and seeing Stafford do what he did, Perfektenschlag. Well, not all the way, because if you look around the NFC North, you had, the usual suspects looking good. Starting off with the Green Bay Packers, so close. Blake Bortles and company with a last-second drive that could have had some big dividends, but they weren't able to be victorious. Green Bay getting the job done by the tune of 27-23. Aaron Rodgers with, not a huge game. 200 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. Lacey, 61 yards. Randall Cobb looked okay, but they found a way to win that game, man. They had a lead. And Jacksonville kept coming back, but it was all for naught. So, I predicted this team to go ahead and take care of business and win the NFC North, and they're off to a great start. Now, Minnesota, victorious 25-26. I mean, they're better than Tennessee, but when you add Sean Hill playing instead of Teddy Bridgewater, and it's a road game, you would like to see Tennessee, find a way. And they started off with a 10-0 lead in the first half. It's like, cool, man, here we go. Adrian Peterson with the down game, but it was all for naught as Minnesota's defense getting 2 touchdowns. I think I've got their defense in one of my leagues, so, it's kind of bittersweet. But it's mainly bitter. I always want to see them do bad, but they had 2 big touchdowns from their defense. Steph Diggs with 7 catches, 103 yards. So they pulled off the victory. Now, moving on to the Chicago Bears, they couldn't get it done. So at least, you don't want a clean sweep in the NFC North. At least we got one of the teams being losers. This was against the Houston Texans. I almost called them the Rockets right there, but I caught myself. But I just told you, so kind of nullifies the fact that I caught it. By a final score of 14-23, Jay Cutler, a touchdown, a pick, 216 yards. Langford, 57 yards on the ground, and Alshon Jeffrey with 4 catches, 105 yards. I mean, it's kind of the status quo. If you look around the NFC in terms of everyone but the Lions, they look a little bit better. Many people picked them to lose, but they won. Minnesota, Green Bay, top 2 teams. They have been for a while. We got to see what happens now that Bridgewater's out. But they took care of business, and the Bears, who many are picking to be the cellar dwellers of the NFC North. So everything kind of true to form in terms of expected outcomes, except with our Lions. So many people like Terry Bradshaw, guaranteeing the Colts to win and not getting any respect, love, or many predictions from anyone outside of Detroit. So it's good to kind of stick it to everyone and say, hey, guess what, guys? You were wrong. Now, what do we have? I'm going to end it with that and then talking a little bit about Stafford. What do we have with this team? We don't know, guys. And I think we know even less. Now, I'll say this. Some quick observations. Our offense looked good. We won't know a ton about our offense for a little bit. I got to look at Tennessee's defense, see how good their defense is. We played a very mediocre defense at full strength with the Indianapolis Colts. You add to the fact that they had injuries. We beat up on a bad defense. But there was times last year where that offense just was not clicking no matter what defense we went against. No matter what defense, we struggled. So it was good to see some of the things that I thought would happen with Stafford and company and the running game. That's the key. Every good quarterback, minus Aaron Rodgers, I just feel like he doesn't even need it. Every good, successful quarterback, for the most part in the league, is either very good in terms of being mobile themselves, has a good offensive line, or a good running game. Lo and behold, our running game was respectable. You had to respect the run, so play action and things work, and the offensive line held up. And look, Stafford looked amazing. It's not a one-person deal. You need help. And so if those things hold up, this offense is going to be as good as this first game. Not quite, but they'll be on the top echelon of the league. Now, defensively, I am a little bit worried. We won't go up against Andrew Luck every week, so that's a good thing. We've got Mariota and Derrick Henry and, DeMarco Murray next week, which is a downgrade, especially at home. But we got to get more of a consistent pass rush. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in that regard. But seeing key contributions from the young guys, we got a good nucleus, man. Amir Abdullah, Theo Reddick, Sam Martin, who I've been rough on. He had a really good game punting the ball. And so I appreciate what he did. These guys are being re-signed. It's exciting. I'll close it with this with Stafford. I think when you come into the league and you're young, you can try to take the reins, and some guys do, but this was really Ndamukong Suh, to a lesser extent, but mainly Calvin Johnson's team. And over the years, Stafford has started to step up, and we give him credit for that. But seeing him kind of scream and yell like he did, him take control of that offense, there's no question now. This is Matthew Stafford's team. Yeah, there is no one else there. There isn't that Megatron or that Sue. This is his team. And I'm very proud to say that I feel comfortable with him at the helm. I mean, we saw glimpses of it even as a rookie against teams like Cleveland, and I think even Washington, leading his team down the field for game-winning drives. And he did it once again. And he's locked in. And so I'm very excited to see what we've got. Him taking that next step as a leader. And you got a secondary guy like Bolton, who is a tough guy and a leader as well. It could definitely improve and change the culture on this team for good. Guys, like I said, the plan here is to come back in a couple of days, right before Sunday's matchup against the Tennessee Titans, and give you a preview. Got to run about the big bosses here at the Trey Sports Podcast, but I'm sure it's going to be A-OK. When that happens, we will preview the happenings of this past week, things going on with Tennessee, and I'll give you a prediction. Until then, enjoy it, baby. Lions are victorious in opening week. You gotta love it. 1-0, 39-35. Check me out on Pride Detroit. Check me out on Twitter at Jerry Mallory NFL. Check me out on my Snapchat. It was fun, man. You got the reaction from the field goal and a lot of other things going on. A little bit of dancing, some commentary, you name it. Check out my Snapchat. That username is Jerry Mallory NFL as well. All right, guys. Until next time, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. This has been Jerry for the Hindsight 20 podcast. Peace.